Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into Morgan Housel's Same as Ever today, using those excerpts you shared.
Yep, great book.
Our goal here is to pull out those key insights, those aha moments, things that help you understand our, constantly changing world without getting totally swamped.
Think of it as the essentials.
Exactly. You're fast track to really getting it.
And the beauty of Same as Ever, I think, is its core idea. The world's surface, always shifting. But the fundamentals, how people behave, how things work, surprisingly constant.
So we'll be going through it chapter by chapter almost, looking for those enduring truths.
That's the plan.
Our mission then, for you listening, is to give you a clearer lens on what doesn't change, even when everything feels like it is. Okay, let's unpack this. First up, the fragility of history.
All right. Chapter 1, sometimes called Hanging by a Thread. And it really sets the stage. It shows how much hinges on, tiny decisions, random chance, both in our lives and, big historical events.
Housel starts with his own story, which is pretty gripping. A split-second choice while skiing that meant he missed a deadly avalanche.
Wow.
It immediately makes you think, gosh, things could have gone so differently.
Totally. And then he zooms out. History's full of this stuff. Think George Washington's army trapped on Long Island.
Right.
What saved them? The wind changed direction. Pure luck. Something totally out of their control.
Or the Lusitania. Captain Turner decides to slow down a bit to save fuel. Just a small economic call.
Seems minor, yeah.
But it leads directly to meeting a German U-boat. And that event, huge push for the U.S. entering World War I.
It's kind of mind-blowing how a small thing cascades.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then there's the attempted assassination of FDR by Zangara.
Yeah.
He misses Roosevelt, hits the mayor of Chicago instead, Anton Cermak.
Who was apparently said to be a key player in FDR's team.
Exactly. So that stray bullet completely redirects U.S. policy for years. It's wild. It just hammers home how interconnected everything is. These tiny little hinges swinging massive doors. Makes you wonder, doesn't it, about your own life? Those small choices you barely think about.
Definitely. It gives you a sense of humility, about predicting the future based on the past anyway. History isn't about forecasting, maybe. It's about seeing the role of chance, the uncertainty.
Okay, let's move to something that feels super relevant right now. Risk.
Yeah.
Chapter 2. Risk is what you don't see.
Right. And the core idea here is a bit unsettling, honestly. It's that the biggest risks, the ones that really knock us off course, they're often the ones we just didn't see coming.
We plan for the known threats, right? But the real danger often comes out of left field.
Exactly. He tells the story of astronaut Victor Prather. NASA flight, meticulous planning, cutting-edge stuff.
Yeah.
But tragedy strikes because of something almost trivial, a flaw in his helmet's faceplate on recovery.
Even with all that planning.
Wow. Precisely. The unexpected can still be devastating. And history is littered with these surprises. 9/11, COVID-19, the Great Depression.
Even brilliant people like Irving Fisher completely missed the 1929 crash, right?
Utterly.
Yeah.
And it's this cognitive bias we have. We think because we survived past unknowns, future surprises won't hit as hard.
Yeah, like we've learned our lessons somehow.
But the book argues for shifting focus. Less predicting specific risks, more building general resilience.
Like having savings, being careful with debt.
Exactly. Building a buffer zone.
Yeah.
For whatever shock comes next.
The Houdini story fits here too, doesn't it? The master of escaping danger.
Yeah. Felled by a random punch he wasn't expecting during a demonstration. It's almost ironic.
It does make you question if we focus our risk management efforts in the right places.
Well, it highlights that we worry about known unknowns, but the unknown unknowns, those are the game changers. So preparedness over prediction. That's the takeaway.
Okay, let's pivot. Expectations. Chapter 3, Expectations and Reality. This hits home for a lot of people, I think.
Definitely. It's all about how much our expectations color our happiness. He brings in Charlie Munger's famous line.
First rule of happiness, low expectations.
Right. Sounds a bit glum at first, maybe.
I love it, yeah.
But the logic is solid. If your baseline is modest, then good things feel genuinely good. Unexpected bonuses.
And conversely, if expectations keep rising,
then even if things objectively get better, like we're generally richer than people in the 1950s, we don't necessarily feel happier. The goalposts keep moving.
social media must pour fuel on this fire, right? Seeing everyone's highlight reel.
Oh, absolutely. It creates this constant upward comparison, breeds envy, inflates what we think we need or deserve.
So managing expectations becomes a strategy for happiness itself.
That's the argument. Tempering desire, appreciating what you do have. It's an internal game.
The Naomi Osaka example was interesting. Winning huge tournaments stopped being pure joy, became more like relief.
Yeah, the pressure of expectation changed the experience entirely, even for massive success.
It really makes you think, how much do your expectations shape your satisfaction day to day? Is managing them a better path than just chasing more?
It's a deep question. Okay, chapter 4. Wild minds. This one's intriguing. It's about people with unique perspectives.
And how they often come with, let's say, challenging traits, too.
Exactly. It explores the trade-offs when you admire someone. You want their brilliance, maybe, but you often can't just pick and choose qualities. You get the whole package.
The good and the difficult bits.
Right. Naval Ravikant's point about jealousy fits here. Before you envy someone, ask, would you really trade for their entire life? All the hidden struggles.
Probably not, when you really think about it.
And John Boyd, the military strategist, his whole thing was challenging all assumptions. That's a wild mind trait, often valuable, but maybe not always easy to be around.
So when you admire someone, you need to see the full picture, the potential downsides that come with the upside.
It encourages a more realistic view, I think. Less hero worship, maybe. And asking yourself what exactly you admire and what might come along with it.
Got it. Okay, chapter 5. Wild numbers. This taps into our desire for certainty, right? In a world that's anything but certain.
Precisely. We understand probability, intellectually maybe, but emotionally, we crave clear answers, yes or no.
Like that classroom exercise showing we underestimate uncertainty.
Yeah, Ronald Howard's experiment. We consistently narrow the range of possibilities too much. We want things defined.
The CIA looking for bin Laden is a good example. They wanted a yes, he's there, not a 70% probability.
Right. And our intuition just breaks down with extreme probabilities, really tiny chances, or really huge numbers.
Like the woman who won the lottery twice, Evelyn Marie Adams.
Exactly. Seems impossible. But when you factor in millions of people playing millions of tickets over years, weird stuff happens. Rare events aren't that rare in huge populations.
And the way news travels now, global, instant.
Yeah.
It magnifies the negative, doesn't it?
Definitely. We hear about every bad thing, everywhere, instantly. It can make the world feel more dangerous or chaotic than our immediate reality might be.
It's interesting how that desire for certainty can actually make us ignore useful info hidden in probabilities. We want the simple answer, even if it's less accurate.
It's a fundamental tension. Okay, next chapter 6. Best story wins. This one's about influence.
And how narrative often beats data.
Pretty much. Compelling stories just connect with us emotionally in a way that spreadsheets don't. Think Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
Yeah, pure power moved millions. Way more than stats on inequality ever could.
Or Ken Burns' documentaries. He's a master storyteller. He knows how to make history feel relevant, engaging.
Good stories simplify things, right? Make them relatable.
Exactly. They tap into emotions, often aligned with what we already want to believe or experiences we've had. That makes them incredibly persuasive.
So it's not just about being right, it's about telling the story well. How have stories shaped your own view of the world?
It's a great question. And it underlines why critical thinking is so important. We need to be aware of the stories being told, their power, and, question them.
Distinguish insight from just good marketing, essentially.
Right. Okay, chapter 7, does not compute. This is a bit more philosophical. The idea that the universe, especially people, don't always follow logical rules.
Human behavior is often messy, irrational.
Totally. Emotions, biases, they play a huge role that pure logic can't capture. Jeff Bezos even said sometimes anecdotes are more telling than data.
Really? That's interesting, lived experience versus stats.
Yeah. And think about market values, stock prices. It's a number, sure, but it's multiplied by a story about the future, a story that might be partly hope or fear, not just cold logic.
The book even calls needing absolute certainty a disease of the mind.
It does, because it can stop us from dealing with a world that's inherently probabilistic. Can you think of times when logic just didn't explain things?
Oh, definitely. Life's full of those moments, isn't it? Human psychology just throws curveballs.
It's a reminder that people aren't robots. Understanding that helps you navigate the weirdness.
Absolutely. Being aware of the illogical helps you adapt.
Okay, chapter 8 brings in a really fascinating cycle.
Yeah.
Calm plants the seeds of crazy.
This is about greed and fear in markets, how stability can actually lead to instability.
Exactly. It touches on Minsky's financial instability hypothesis. The basic idea. When things are good for a long time, people get comfortable. They take on more risk, more debt.
Because it feels safe.
Right. which ironically creates the conditions for a future crash.
Yeah.
Asset bubbles form. The system becomes fragile. The lack of crisis breeds the next crisis.
It's the ultimate irony of stability. Complacency creeps in.
And history's full of it. Think about infectious diseases declining for decades. We got complacent about pandemics, right? Then COVID hit hard.
Yeah.
Or companies that get successful. The paranoia that drove them fades. Complacency sets in. They miss the next big shift.
Carl Jung's idea fits here too, right?
Yeah.
Enantiodromia.
Yeah, that's psychological principle. Push something to an extreme, like extreme calm or stability, and it flips into its opposite, like chaos.
It's interesting how human behavior drives these cycles. Optimism pushes things too far, testing boundaries.
Often leading to irrational booms and busts. It's a recurring pattern.
All right, chapter 9 changes tack a bit. Too much, too soon, too fast. The dangers of rushing things.
Exactly. It uses the story of Robert Wadlow, the tallest man ever.
Oh, right. Tragic story.
Yeah. His extreme growth caused immense physical problems, shortened his life. It shows that growing too fast, beyond natural limits, can be really harmful.
And in investing, this means patience is key. Don't chase quick wins.
Definitely. The market historically rewards long-term thinking decades, not days. Trying to get rich quick usually backfires.
Like those young trees in the shade, growing slowly but getting strong roots.
That's a great analogy from the book. Slow, deliberate growth builds resilience. Rapid, forced growth, often weak and unsustainable.
Where in your own life might you be tempted to rush things? It's a good question to ask yourself.
Because often there are no real shortcuts to things that last, whether it's building a business, learning a skill, or investing.
Trying to force it just weakens the outcome.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, chapter 10 offers a bit more optimism. When the magic happens, how stress can actually fuel innovation.
Necessity being the mother of invention.
That's the core idea. Hard times can sharpen focus, spark creativity in ways comfort doesn't. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. A horrific tragedy.
Awful.
But the outrage and the obvious need for change it created, it spurred major lasting labor reforms.
And wartime often accelerates technology, right?
Hugely. Radar, atomic energy, even the internet. Massive leaps driven by the intense pressure of conflict.
Even the Great Depression, surprisingly, saw a lot of innovation.
Yeah, people were forced to find cheaper, smarter ways to do things. Efficiency became crucial.
But there's a fine line, isn't there? Stress motivates, but too much stress paralyzes.
Absolutely. The key seems to be purpose. Having a strong why helps you push through the hardship.
So challenges aren't just things to avoid. They can be crucibles for growth.
Exactly. Reframing hardship as a potential source of breakthroughs.
Chapter 11 contrasts this with overnight tragedies and long-term miracles. How we notice bad news quickly, but good news slowly.
Yeah, it's a real perception gap. Bad news, a disaster, market crash, grabs our attention instantly. It's dramatic.
While good news often unfolds gradually, like slow progress.
Exactly. It's incremental, easy to miss because it doesn't happen all at once. Warren Buffett's quote about reputation fits perfectly.
Takes 20 years to build, 5 minutes to ruin.
That asymmetry is key. Think about heart disease deaths declining massively since the 50s. Millions of lives saved.
Huge progress.
But it happens slowly. Medical advances, lifestyle changes. It doesn't get headlines like Eisenhower's heart attack did back then.
Right. The sudden event overshadows the slow trend.
Same with tech progress or economic growth generally. Long, slow upward curve, but our focus gets snagged by the dips, the crises.
And creation is complex. Destruction can be simple.
That too. And good news is often stuff that didn't happen. Prevented diseases, avoided wars, harder to see, harder to appreciate.
Are you more tuned into the sudden shocks or the quiet, gradual progress? It's a good self-check. Our negativity bias is strong.
It really is. We're wired for threats.
Okay, chapter 12. Tiny and magnificent. The power of small things compounding.
This connects beautifully to evolution. Billions of years of tiny, tiny changes adding up to, well, all the complexity of life we see.
It's mind-boggling when you think of it that way.
And the same compounding magic works in investing. Small, regular contributions over a long time, they can grow into something really substantial.
It's not about hitting home runs all the time. It's consistency.
Exactly. Those small, steady efforts accumulate. Habits, skills, relationships too.
And the flip side, big failures often start small.
Often, yeah. Like the Tenerife airport disaster. Not one huge error, but a chain of smaller mistakes, miscommunications, ignored procedures. They all added up.
So what small, consistent actions could you start taking now that might lead to big benefits later?
It really makes you value those daily choices, doesn't it? Their long-term ripple effects, positive or negative.
The small stuff lays the foundation for the big outcomes.
Absolutely. Okay, chapter 13, election and despair. This is about balancing optimism and pessimism.
You need both for progress, not just blind optimism or crippling pessimism.
That's the idea. A bit of pessimism helps you see risks, prepare for setbacks. But you need underlying optimism to even bother investing in the future, to keep going.
Save like a pessimist, invest like an optimist.
That's the phrase used, yeah.
Yeah.
It captures that balance. The Admiral Stockdale story is powerful here, POW in Vietnam.
Right. He kept faith he'd get out eventually.
Unshakable faith. But he also confronted the brutal reality of his daily life. He didn't pretend it wasn't horrific. The pure optimists, expecting quick release, they often broke.
Wow, that's intense.
And Bill Gates is used as a modern example.
Yeah.
Huge techno-optimist, right?
Less.
But financially.
Yeah.
Very conservative. Always kept enough cash to survive a major downturn.
So it's rational optimism, acknowledge the bad, but believe in eventual progress.
Pretty much. Knowing setbacks are part of it, but not letting them kill your belief in the long game. How do you balance hope and realism when things get tough?
It's about resilience, isn't it? Not getting crushed by the present, believing in the future.
Exactly. Okay, chapter 14 throws a curveball. Casualties of perfection. The idea that striving for maximum efficiency can actually backfire.
Being good enough is sometimes better than perfect.
Often, yeah. In evolution, adaptability across different conditions often beats being perfectly adapted to just one narrow niche. Hyper-specialization can be fragile.
And he talks about wasting time being valuable for creativity.
Right. Unstructured time, letting your mind wander. That's often when breakthroughs happen, not always under intense, focused pressure.
So the standard 8-hour workday might not be ideal for creative thinking.
Potentially not. Maybe periods of less structure, more reflection, actually boost real productivity long term.
And the pandemic showed the danger of hyper-optimized systems, right? Just in time, everything, no slack.
Exactly. When disruption hit, those lean systems broke easily. No buffer.
Even in finance, holding cash or diversifying seems inefficient short term.
But it provides crucial security. Resilience against shocks. It's a form of valuable inefficiency.
So could a bit of inefficiency actually benefit you? A margin of safety, maybe? More creativity?
It challenges that constant drive for optimization.
Yeah.
Maybe some slack is good for us.
Chapter 15 is blunt. It's supposed to be hard. Worthwhile things take effort. No escaping it.
Yeah, this chapter cuts straight to it. Uses the Donner Party story.
Oh gosh, the shortcut that went horribly wrong.
Exactly. A grim lesson about trying to bypass the necessary difficulty. The quote from Lawrence of Arabia sums it up. The trick is not minding that it hurts.
Accepting the pain or effort as part of the deal?
Right. Jerry Seinfeld talking about writing comedy. It's just hard work to make something good. There's no magic bullet.
Pretty much any big goal has some kind of overhead, right? Sacrifice, discomfort, sustained effort.
That's the core message. The idea that you can get something truly valuable without struggle. Mostly a myth.
What hard things in your life led to the best results? Thinking about that makes the point clear.
Embracing the difficulty, seeing it as necessary, is often key to actually getting there.
Trying to skip the hard part usually doesn't work out.
Rarely. Okay, chapter 16. Keep running. A bit sobering. Competitive advantages don't last forever.
Like in evolution or business, things change.
Yeah. He brings in Cope's rule. From biology, evolution often favors bigger species, but that size also brings fragility, and uses Sears as a business example.
Once dominant, then declines significantly.
Right. The chapter lists reasons this happens. Hubris from success, challenges of growth, complacency, skills becoming irrelevant, luck running out.
And the Red Queen hypothesis.
From Van Valen, yeah. In an ecosystem, all species basically face a constant risk of extinction. You have to keep evolving, keep running, just to stay in the same place relative to competitors.
So survival means constant adaptation and effort. You can't rest on your laurels.
Pretty much. In what parts of your life or career do you need to keep running just to maintain things?
It's a reminder that stagnation is dangerous. Always learning, adapting, innovating. That's the game.
No advantage is permanent. Relying on the past is risky.
Okay, chapter 17 looks ahead. The wonders of the future. How we react to new tech.
And there's a typical cycle, right? Skepticism first, then maybe ridicule, then eventual acceptance and reliance.
We often underestimate how transformative new things will be early on. Edison's optimism is mentioned.
Yeah, he saw the potential. And the chapter stresses that big breakthroughs usually build on lots of smaller, seemingly minor discoveries. They compound.
Often in unpredictable ways, like the airplane leading to, well, all sorts of things, good and bad, that weren't imagined initially.
Exactly. And diversity of ideas, experiments, fuels that innovative potential, like natural selection.
What small innovations today might lead to huge, unforeseen changes later? Fun to speculate.
It reminds us that progress is often cumulative, building in surprising ways.
And the truly game-changing stuff might seem insignificant now.
Often does. Okay, chapter 18, back to the personal. Harder than it looks and not as fun as it seems. The gap between perception and reality.
People don't usually broadcast their struggles, right? James Baldwin's quote about shared pain.
Yeah, it highlights that hidden universal struggle. And social media often makes it worse. Curated perfection creates false impressions.
The iceberg metaphor comes up. We only see the tip.
Exactly. The success is visible, but the vast amount of effort, setbacks, complexity underneath, hidden.
Even super successful people like Buffett or Musk have their own struggles, obviously.
Absolutely. The author shares his own stuttering as an example. Common struggles are often invisible.
Realizing this helps with empathy, maybe? Humility?
Definitely. When you admire someone's success, what hidden battles might they be fighting? It grounds your perception.
Looks beyond the shiny surface. Appreciates the full, messy human reality.
Which fosters understanding towards others, and maybe ourselves too.
Okay, chapter 19 tackles a huge one. Incentives, the most powerful force in the world.
Yeah, how incentives just fundamentally drive behavior and often lead us to rationalize things we might otherwise question.
The examples are potent. Financial writers' incentives, online scams driven by need, even artists changing styles.
All shaped by incentives. And they can be powerful enough to override objectivity, even ethics. The Heaven's Gate cult is mentioned.
Wow, extreme example.
And even Time magazine's founding had financial incentives mixed in. The point is, good people can do questionable things if the incentives push them that way.
So understanding the incentives in any situation is crucial.
Absolutely. It helps explain why people or organizations act the way they do. Aligning incentives well is key.
What incentives are shaping your choices right now? It's a really powerful question to ask yourself.
It's a lens to analyze your own motives, others' actions, the systems we're in.
Definitely. Awareness of incentives is critical for navigating the world.
Okay, chapter 20, now you get it. The power of personal experience. Nothing teaches like living through something.
You can read about it, but experiencing it changes you.
Deeply. Truman's quote about each generation learning the hard way fits here. Experiencing hardship can make people do things they never thought they would. Trevor Noah's story, post-war Germany.
And stress makes people act out of character sometimes.
For sure. Or think about market crashes. Your risk tolerance feels different when you're actually losing money versus just thinking about it hypothetically.
Yeah, theory versus reality. And Jim Carrey talking about achieving huge success.
And realizing it wasn't the magical answer he thought it would be. You only truly get certain things by living them.
What experiences have fundamentally shaped your beliefs? It's humbling to realize how much is rooted in our own unique journey.
It really is. And it makes understanding someone else's deeply held beliefs harder if you haven't had similar experiences.
Okay, final chapter we're covering, 21, time horizons. Why long-term thinking is hard, even though we praise it.
Yeah, everyone agrees long-term thinking is good, right? But actually doing it consistently, much harder.
Like saying you want to climb Everest. Easy to say.
Hard to do the actual climbing, the sustained effort. And you need shared commitment, too. If your partners or colleagues aren't on board with a long-term vision, it probably won't happen.
And knowing the difference between patience and just being stubborn.
Crucial. Sometimes you need to adapt the plan, not just blindly stick to it. Flexibility matters.
Plus, distinguishing between info that lasts permanent principles and info that expires quickly.
That's key for effective long-term focus. Don't get bogged down by the temporary noise.
How do you balance your long-term goals with today's demands? It's that constant tension.
It really is. Staying focused on the horizon while navigating the immediate waves requires constant effort and prioritization.
The path to long-term success is rarely straight.
Almost never. So, wrapping up this deep dive into Same as Ever, what themes really stick out for you?
Well, definitely the power of the unseen hidden risks, chance, Also, how much our own minds shape things, expectations, incentives. That constant tension between opposites like calm and crazy, optimism and pessimism, and just enduring human nature underneath it all.
Yeah, I agree. And the big takeaway seems to be understand these timeless things, these constants, and you'll have a much better framework for dealing with all the change swirling around us.
Exactly. Learning to see what doesn't change in a changing world.
Right. So here's a final thought for you, building on the book's ideas. Think about those tiny, seemingly random events we started with, how they ripple outwards, and how trying to predict the future based on past connections feels almost absurdly difficult, humbling even, given how strange and unpredictable those past links often were.
It really makes you appreciate the kind of beautiful chaos of it all, the unpredictability of life and history.
Exactly. Endlessly fascinating. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.